We're out in the Defiant again, and this time we're diving my old ship, the Big Dog. BIGDAWG. The Big Dog was a U.S. Air Force water survival ship at 94 feet long and was commissioned in 1993 or 1994. It served as the platform for the parasailing water survival program that the Air Force put on out of Pensacola until it was decommissioned in 2015. They shut that program down in 2015, and eventually this ship was sunk to be used as an artificial reef. Right here, I'm swimming through the classroom, and I'm taking a look at the old bench. I spent many of hours sleeping on that bench after the end of the duty day, waiting for us to get back to shore. That classroom that we just swam through used to hold between 30 and 50 people, depending on the size of the class and how we had them broken up. I'm diving today with my brother, who's down there. It looks like he got a shot off on probably a Cabrera or black snapper or something under the back of the boat there. This back platform is where we used to onload and offload students from the other smaller ships that we had. They're 40-foot long, twin-engine, Detroit diesel, 1,200 horsepower parasailing boats that we used to pull them off of this main deck and into the air. What we would do is we'd hook them up to a parasail on the main deck of the Big Dog and then pull them up to altitude where they would then get to about 500 feet, and we would slack the rope so they could release from the parasailing boat. After they've released from that tow cable, they'd come down under the parasail as a parachute, allowing us to do parachute water survival training without having to jump out of an airplane or increase risk in that way. We also used the back of the Big Dog to drop students in right here and right there, where we would then drag them behind the boat until they could learn how to stabilize their body position in case they were dragged through the water by the parachute in a real-world emergency. This console used to have the two levers that would drop the students on the left and right-hand side, and always had a lot of fun doing that because you'd always get a couple good screams. Facing forward now, I'm approaching the main controls up this ladder, which they did leave. They cut off some of the railings and they removed the main parachute netting, but a lot of the ship is intact. Up here is where we used to have Master Sergeant House and the contracted coxswains who would run the ship. They would sit up in here and run the main operation and make sure that they got us heading in the right direction, heading into the wind, so it's easier to launch those students with the parasails. Walking the plank up here, you're another story above the main deck, and this did used to have railings, like I was saying. This is where we would have a shift supervisor or a safety person standing up observing the entire operation. They had no other duties except to make sure everything was nice and safe, because if they're distracted by hooking up students or doing something else, they wouldn't be able to focus entirely on the safety aspect. Now, for those of you who worked this before me, you guys are going to have different people in your heads when you do this, but I was there right at the closure of the program, so I'm stuck with the folks that I knew. I'll try to keep the naming down to a minimum. Exploring the main launch deck, I looked up and saw that my brother dropped a 43-inch amberjack. I missed the shot, but you can see here is just a second after he shot it. He killed this thing stone dead, or as we like to call it, he stoned it. Stoning a 43-inch amberjack is not common. At this point, we're thinking that it's knocked out. These things usually wake back up and will fight you. I'm already leveling my spear at it in case it does wake up and start to fight. I've seen these things break spear guns, rip stringers, destroy gear. I had one knock my mask and my regulator off my head at one point. We are lucky here. Nate's got his hands in the gill plates and he's working on his stringer. He checks his air, as you should always do. 200 pounds, so he's got 1,200 pounds left. You should always check your air when you shoot an amberjack because you have no idea how long you're going to have to fight that thing and how many breaths of air you're going to have to take trying to make sure you subdue that giant tuna-sized fish. I do think it's in the tuna family, actually. It's just a pretty common one here down around the panhandle. It's not like your bluefin or the enormous ones that you see in other videos. This fish ended up winning the tournament that we're having that day for largest and heaviest fish shot. 43-inch amberjack's pretty good. There's some 60-inch ones out there, but that was an awesome kill. So good on Nate for getting that, and good on Nate for winning the tournament that day. Now, these holes that are cut in the main deck didn't exist when I worked on the Big Dog, but they did have to open some things up. We had to get an environmental inspection to make sure there's no oil or grease or things that can pollute and allow this thing to actually be a reef that is usable by local wildlife. Right where I'm swimming right now is about where the students would start walking forward, and we'd signal the boat to pull them forward and off this deck, and they would skip off the end, some of them happy, some of them scared, and we'd pull them up to that 500-foot mark and drop them in the water, let them do some water survival with the equipment that they would have in a real-world situation. Overall, it was super surreal getting out there and diving a place that I used to work. It was like diving an office that I worked in or diving a building that I used to work in every single day. It was a very unique experience, to say the least. Got some good shots of the back of the Defiant. She's almost done. I got some paint to do yet and a couple of things to tweak before we move her up to Michigan full-time. But she's working out pretty good as a dive boat, and I'm pretty happy with the overall reconstruction of this old Coast Guard patrol boat. That's all I have for you today. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment if you want to support the channel. And if you really want to support the channel, check out the link in the description below for our published book, Don't Die, a Survival Manual. Thank you for viewing to the end, and thank you for stopping by.